Now, if you want to find the root of any problem, Amos Wilson quotes, look and see who stands to benefit the most from it. In this case, let's look at the who's involved in this coup overall, people that died, people that were involved, etc. Let's start with who was involved. So here you have an image, some images of 3 key members. You have Major Ademoyega, Major Nzogu, Major Ifajuna, and then on the right you have a list of other people. There were 2 principal actors. One was a Westerner, Major Adewale Ademoyega, who was a graduate of history from the University of London, along with Major Emmanuel Ifajuna, who was a graduate of sciences from University of Ibadan. They were the ideological basis of the coup. Whereas Major Nzogu and others were more like the backbone. Nzogu was more like, okay, let's get it done. Okay, so this one, let's get it done. He's that kind of guy. They talk about the so-called 5 majors in the coup, but there were really about 7 or 8 in total who were involved in the planning. All of them were Easterners, with the exception of Ademoyega. They were not all Igbos, though. Out of 40 majors in the Nigerian army at the time, 24 were Igbos. How is this an Igbo coup if only 4 of them took part? But again, I can see how many will still say, okay, it's not good enough. So let me move on to the next slide. Let's look at who was killed. From this list, you will see that not one of them is Fulani. Isn't that interesting? Even this Brigadier Mai Malari, based on this, the way they've described what the North is, yes, he was a Northerner, but he wasn't Hausa or Fulani. The biggest reason why the January 15th coup happened is because the aim of the coup plotters was to place this man, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, in as prime minister. That was their agenda. It was confirmed by Awolowo in his book, A March Towards Prison. It was also confirmed by Major Nzogu in an interview he did just after the coup, or the coup failed. And it was confirmed by Captain Ben Boulier, one of the coup plotters, in his book, The 5 Majors. Just even looking at the personnel in key positions at the time, were it to be an Igbo coup, it would have been, it would have been easy as, it would have been a walkover. All the commands in Lagos, from battalion command, the armory, quartermaster general, they were Igbos. Even in the north, Ojukwu was in the north, commanding a battalion. Who stopped the coup? Because the coup wasn't a success. Let's remember that. We talk about this coup. Yes, it killed a lot of key personnel in the north. It removed the leadership of the country, but it wasn't a success. If you look at why it wasn't a success, it's down to whether you want to call them Igbos or Easterners. But really, if you're talking about the Igbo coup myth, it's Igbos that actually stopped this coup. Particularly Ojukwu, like I said, in the north, and Ironsi in Lagos. You see, Ojukwu was serving as the commander of the 5th Battalion in Kano, just as Nzogu was executing the coup in Kaduna. Now, if you read Emeka, which was the book written by Frederick Forsyth, which is the biography about Emeka Ojukwu, Ojukwu refused to cooperate when some people, when there were soldiers that were sent by Nzogu to him in Kano. He refused to cooperate with them. And ultimately, that made the coup a failure in the north. Even though Nzogu had control of Kaduna, Ojukwu held firm. He's like, no, this doesn't make sense. It's not right. And a side note, by the way, Ojukwu was Igbo speaking, but Nzogu was of the Anyoma people. They're Easterners, but they're 2 different people. Anyoma people are in Delta. Ojukwu is from Anambra. Yes, there's a river that separates them. Their names sound like Igbo, but that's due to the Igbo influence on the area. But they are different people. Now, if you want to look at the greater Igbo family, of course, yes, you could say they are part of the same family. Whether you call them Igbo or not is a matter of history. Why was he spared on the coup day? It is what feeds into this BS argument that it was an Igbo coup. Ultimately, you could say he ended up benefiting the most in the end by becoming president. So if indeed Ironsi was a target, why didn't the coup plotters get to Ironsi? Well, the coup plotters actually sent one a man called Lieutenant Oji, Ogbonaya Oji. He died actually quite recently, I think like 2 years ago. They sent him to arrest General Ironsi. And there's a book written by Major Philip Effiong, which I bought at Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport once. Really good book. Philip Effiong, if you remember, would later become vice president of Biafra. He become Ojuku's number 2. He was a man of, you see, Akwa Ibom or Cross River. So basically a Calabar-ish, Calabar-speaking man. Ironsi had already heard of the coup through his intelligence, general officer commanding. And he left his house, driving his Jag. He was driving a Jaguar, with an armed guard as well. Now, remember also, Ironsi was the only major general at the time, so people respected his authority. When Ironsi met Oji on the road, he told this man off, cussed him out for taking part in the coup, and basically overpowered him. Now, had Nzogu been the one that had gone to meet Ironsi, it would have been a very, very different scenario, because Nzogu was ruthless. Nzogu, they called him, I think it was a nickname. He's also called Kaduna. Where did he go? The same place that he had lived, Kaduna. Who is he responsible for killing? The Sadana. If he was the one that met Ironsi, he would have got the job done. He rounded up all the coup plotters and arrested them. It was Ironsi who went from his home in Ikoyi to the cantonment on the mainland, to wake up a man by the name of Colonel Njoku, another Igbo answering an Igbo name, an Igbo man, Colonel Njoku. He woke him up in the middle of the night to gather his soldiers and delegate them to crush the coup. Eventually, Nzogu was arrested and brought down to Lagos. Ironsi actually sent a Cameroonian man by the name of Captain Hans Anago, Anagho. Go and look this man up. I think he's still alive. In fact, he's a traditional ruler in Cameroon. He sent him to help quell the coup in the southwest. Remember, English Cameroon at the time was part of Nigeria in the run-up to independence. In fact, part of Adamawa state was in Cameroon. So you see, at all levels, Easterners were involved in stopping this coup. And that's how Ironsi survived the coup. Was it an Igbo coup? The answer is no. A big fat no. It was not an Igbo coup.